As I pulled away from the city and looked into the rearview mirror, I wasn't just watching the buildings shrink. I was watching the erasure of the crowd that had been gnawing at my soul. This lake house, a dusty legacy from my grandfather, was supposed to be my sanctuary. On the first night, I sat on the veranda and stared into the depths of the forest, into that pitch-black void. The air was so still that the surface of the lake trapped the stars like a silver-lined mirror. But that night, I realized something. The forest was not silent. There was no wind. Yet I could hear things shifting between the trees' heavy, deliberate movements. A damp, ancient smell clung to every corner of the house. But then I saw them, a bunch of freshly cut wildflowers resting on the kitchen counter. I hadn't put them there. There was no vase. They just lay there on the cold, wet. Mabel, maybe the realtor left them, I whispered to myself. Yet, I knew deep down that the keys had been handed over months ago. That night, as I tried to drift off under the creaking ceiling, I felt as if someone was standing right at the head of my bed, holding their breath, waiting for the exact moment my eyes would close. On the morning of the third day, the fog rolling off the lake was so thick that I couldn't even see the end of the pier. My feet instinctively pulled me toward the water's edge. There, in the muddy bank, where the shallow water had receded, I saw something that froze my blood. Right next to my own boot prints were other tracks, as fresh as if they had just been made. Bare feet, eerily long, thin toes dug deep into the soil, with the heels barely touching the ground. It was as if someone had stood there for hours on their tiptoes, motionless, watching my bedroom window. When I returned to the house, I caught that heavy, sickly sweet scent of decay again. Entering my study, I realized everything on my desk had been rearranged with a millimetric obsession. My books were no longer alphabetical. They were sorted by the color of their spines, forming a rainbow from dark to light. The worst part was the old childhood photos of me and my mother on the desk. The frame had been turned face down, the glass split by a single, thin crack. In that moment, I understood. I wasn't just being watched. I was a project that someone was trying to domesticate, to reshape me according to their own twisted taste. At midnight, I was jolted awake by a strange, metallic scraping sound coming from the forest. I scrambled out of bed to the windows, only to find that every curtain I had closed was now flung wide open. It was pitch black outside, but in the blind spots of the trees, dozens of tiny reflections were shimmering. They weren't eyes. It was as if hundreds of small mirror shards had been hung from the branches. I lunged for the phone in a panic, but there was no signal. When I followed the cord to the wall, I saw it hadn't been cut by a blade. It looked as if a pair of ambitious hands had torn it out, the end crushed as if it had been gnawed on. The darkness was no longer just outside. It was breathing in the shadows under the kitchen counter, in the creak of the attic, in the very void directly behind me. By the dawn of the fourth day, I knew I had to run. I didn't even grab a suitcase. I just snatched my car keys and bolted for the door. The whisper-like sound of the wind through the forests quickened my pace. When I reached my car, my knees gave out. The tires hadn't just been slashed, they had been burned down to the rims. The melted rubber spreading across the path like jet-black tears. At that moment, a sound rose from the thick brush behind me. A laugh, but too shrill to belong to a human. I scrambled back into the house, bolted the doors, and began nailing boards over the windows. That's when I heard that rhythmic thudding coming from the basement. Thump, thump, thump. It was as if the heart of the house was beating underground. I went down with a rusty flashlight in my hand. On the basement floor, hidden under the dust, was a massive shroud. When I pulled it back, I thought I would lose my mind. On the floor was a millimetric model of this very house. My bed, the half-finished books I was reading, even those flowers on the kitchen counter. Inside the model was a small figure made of beeswax, looking exactly like me. The figure's legs had been snapped backward at the knees. In that exact second, an unbearable pain exploded in my legs, as if my bones were being ground into powder. Primera, Goya, said. My reality had been sealed to that cursed model. From above, inside the house, footsteps began to pace, heavy, wet, and confident strides. The stairs groaned with every step, as if saying, "I am coming." The doorknob turned slowly, almost gently. The person who walked in was no stranger. It was that terrifying reflection of mine, wearing my favorite sweater, but with a face that sagged like a mask and pupils that were completely void. It looked at me, smiled, and whispered in my own voice, "Don't be sad, Leon. I will finish everything you left undone." I am now, in the darkest, most isolated corner of my own home, in that narrow concrete cellar where the cold lake water seeps through the walls. I can hear the cheerful piano music coming from the wooden floor above, and the familiar scent of coffee rising from the kitchen. That thing has completely become me now. It laughs with my voice, tells my stories, and it is even finishing the book I left incomplete. The messages it sends to my friends are filled with a sincerity that feels more real than my own. To the outside world, Leon is still living in that peaceful lake house, looking happier than ever. No one noticed my absence, because it managed to be a more perfect, more social, and more vibrant Leon than I ever was. Every evening, it places a heavy glass of wine on the floor directly above me. When I hear the thud of the glass hitting the wood, I can imagine it smiling up there, as if performing a sacrificial rite. I am routing here, a mere shadow beneath my own life. I no longer need to look into mirrors, for my true reflection has stolen my existence above. That ache in my legs never went away, whatever it does to that wax figure in the model. I feel it here exactly the same. Sometimes, while listening to the sounds of the happy crowd above, a strange wave of acceptance washes over me, as if I was never meant to exist at all. If you ever find yourself at this silent lake house and that kind, blonde-haired man greets you at the door, do not look into his eyes for too long. When you enter the kitchen and see those freshly cut flowers, do not dare think the realtor left them. Those flowers are a farewell ceremony, prepared for the next reflection. And do not touch that heavy hatch to the basement. For there, not just mine, but your own little wax figure is waiting silently on one of those dusty shelves. Bide in its time. I am no longer a human, Leon. I am merely the last echo caught in the glass, forgotten in the darkness of this lake.